We can wait a couple of minutes for some people to join. We've got attendees coming in right away. Looks like the number joining has leveled off. Lisa, if you want to begin now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight's ANC 34G regularly scheduled meeting. My name is Lisa Gore. I'm the chair of the ANC, and I'm also a commissioner in single member district 01, which is Hawthorne and Barnaby Woods. We have a pretty robust agenda tonight. We have a couple things on here. One big discussion will be the Connecticut Avenue reversible lanes. And we're also going to talk about Maret task force and some of our task forces. So to get things started, I'll introduce myself in my single member district area. Again, my name is Lisa Gore. My commission area is Western Avenue, down past Pinehurst Circle, around Utah, Tennyson, back up towards Pinehurst Tributary, Beach Street, and then back up towards Oregon Avenue where it intersects with Western. And again, thank you guys for coming tonight. We'll have the rest of the commissioners introduce themselves, starting with Randy Speck.
Hi, I'm Randy Speck. I represent ANC 34G03. That's basically the area between Utah, Nebraska, and Broad Branch. Thank you all for being here.
Chas Cotwell.
Yeah, I'm Chas Cadwell. Good evening. I represent single member district 07, which is the southwest corner of this ANC area, basically between Reno, Nebraska, and Connecticut. Or I'm sorry, Nevada or Broad Branch, I guess.
Or somewhere.
Yeah, already and a lame duck.
Peter Gosselin.
Hi, I'm Peter Gosselin. I represent District 6, which is the west side of Connecticut, back to 42nd Street, from Western Avenue and the Chevy Chase Circle to Military Road, with the peninsula to the east to Nevada between Military and Legation. Welcome.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Who's next?
Connie Chang.
Oh, okay. Me. Good evening. I didn't hear my name. I am Connie Chang. I am the commissioner for ANC 34G, single member district 05, which is the east side of Connecticut, starting on Legation off of Connecticut Avenue, going up to the Circle, Western, down Broad Branch Road. And then it goes back to Legation with a little tail that goes between Nevada, Chevy Chase Parkway to Jocelyn. Thank you for being here tonight.
And John Higgins.
Hello, I'm John Higgins. I'm the commissioner for single member district 02. Basically, my district extends from Oregon Avenue on the east to Utah on the west, from Military on the south to close to Aberfoyle on the north, with a little carve out near Beach Street.
Thank you, commissioners. Just in terms of meeting procedures, just to remind everyone, we are meeting virtually in webinar mode. So you're muted and off camera. If you have questions for the commission, the easiest way to get those to us is to put them in a Q&A. There's two features that should be functioning: Q&A and chat. You can obviously put questions in the chat, but it's a little harder for us to kind of navigate through there. So I would definitely recommend you put them in a Q&A. If you have a question that you want to come on camera at a certain point in the agenda where we have community announcements, or if we're taking comments from the community, please raise your hand. That's the function down at the lower part of your screen. And I just remind everyone to keep the meeting as civil and courteous as possible. With that said, is there any changes to the agenda that we have in terms of adopting this agenda? Does anyone have any changes or updates?
Not really an update, but I'd like to just add Chaz's name to the DDOT presentation because both of us are on that
Okay,
community advisory committee.
okay. Anything else? Okay. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Okay, 6-0. Okay, so we'll get started with commissioner announcements. And unfortunately, I got quite a bit.
Yeah, you're gonna run forever.
And Peter, I did send you.
You did. Now you have to deliver them in something other than 25 minutes.
I'm gonna go very fast, very fast. November, so this is for today's meeting. I had 2 sets on there for Peter. But just to remind everybody, on Saturday, November 12th from 3 to 5, Chevy Chase Farmers Market is hosting its 3rd annual holiday market at Lafayette Elementary School. That's always a great, outstanding event. So there'll be baked goods, arts, jewelry, home goods, and more. Also, Saturday, November 19th, 6:30 to 8:30. There's Jazz at the Wesley, which I think is a really good event as well. The Alex Hamburger Quartet is at the Wesley campus, which is National United Methodist Church on Connecticut Avenue. I'll drop the links in the chat so everybody can have this information. Also, Ward 3, Feed the Family Pantry is requesting donations for $25 gift card. So it's one of the few pantries that we have in Ward 3. They're located right down by UDC, and you can drop off your gift card Saturday or Sunday with their hours. And I'll put the link to them in the chat as well. For our Ward 4 folks, turkey giveaways, Councilmember Lewis George, along with Lamont Riggs Citizen Association, is hosting a turkey giveaway on Saturday, November 19th, 11 to 1 at the Lamont Riggs Community Center. If you can't go in person to pick up a turkey, you can email her staff. And again, this will be in the chat as well, or call and they will try to have the delivery available to you. Also, the Friends of Emory and Vernon Davis Foundation are teaming up for another turkey giveaway at Emory Heights. And that's going to be on November 19th from 10:30 to 12:30. This Tuesday, we got some council sessions going on. We got some legislation, a lot of legislation that's going to be discussed, including a second vote on DC's criminal code. I'll drop in a chat the link to the meeting agenda for the COW. Oh my goodness. Randy, COW, what's I got the acronym and now I just blanked out.
Committee of the Whole. Committee of the Whole.
I was like, what? Thank you. And the legislative session. So can't speak enough on following up with some of these legislative sessions that are going on and staying up to that. State Board of Education meeting, which is very important. Most of you guys probably know we elected a new State Board of Education rep for Ward 3. And their first meeting, he's not sworn in yet, but the first meeting or next meeting for State Board of Education is November 16th. I'll drop that in there. That's going to be at the old council chambers, Maret-ECC building on 4th Street. There'll be, if you know anyone that's looking for a job, this is a planning committee that I've been involved in for the past couple months, Jobs Not Guns, and they partnered up originally. We're created to work on the mayor's gun violence prevention program. We are hosting a fair in Ward 5, but it's open to all district residents. There's over 60 employers that will be present offering jobs to anybody. But we are specifically targeting our youth, so our seniors, high school seniors for this event. It's going to be on November the 16th from 11 to 3 at Turkey Thicket. And again, that's anybody that needs a job. There'll be 60 employers there looking for workers. So that's a great event. There's a town hall conversation on mental health, extremely important. This is being hosted by DC Health Link. It's on November 17th from 12 to 1:30. It's virtual and it's gonna, focus on recognizing the signs of mental illness, talking about children and teens' mental health, racial and ethnic disparities, and resources for residents. Extremely important. DC Public Service Commission is offering a winter ready supplies. This is really good information for possibly some of our seniors out there that might not have winter weatherization items. They're actually giving these items away. And I will put that link in the chat where you can go to the citywide distribution points. But insulation piping, window insulation, the insulation for your plumbing, water pipes, all that stuff they're offering to our neighbors for free. I'll also put a link in the chat for River Smart home rain barrel workshop. That's also on the 16th from 12 to 1:30. There's a lot of folks that are interested in that. It's being hosted by DOEE, which is Department of Energy and Environment. And they'll talk about basically how you can conserve water, use rain barrels in that process, the benefits and installation guidelines. And then finally, Congresswoman Norton is holding a town hall with National Park Service on Wednesday, November the 16th. From 6 to 7:30, and I'll put in the chat the RSVP for that. So a lot of stuff going on this week in particular. That's all I have. Thank you.
Lisa, there was a question in the Q&A about the first event that you mentioned, which I think was the farmer's market. It was not on November 12th, correct? It was.
No, it passed already. It's done.
Passed already? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
November 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really well attended all the way until it got pretty dark. And so I think the manager of the Chevy Chase Farmers Market is going to think about lights.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Any other commissioners have announcements? Peter, then John.
I just want to bring to the, I want to do two things. I want to bring to the commission's attention the fact that on January 1st, our community, the community we represent, will extend further towards Friendship Heights and include the Chevy Chase Playground, the park at 41st, Livingston, and Western. There's a lot going on with that playground, and we're going to have to bear down on helping people both maintain it and improve it. I also want to give a shout out to I think he's the chair of the ANC 3E, our neighbor, our sister ANC in Friendship Heights, and to Tom Quinn. Tom has negotiated a community benefit as part of the development of one of the developments in Friendship Heights to improve, to effectively replace the entire border along Western Avenue and 41st Street. It's one of these amazing things where a developer is going to provide replanting this whole area, which is basically our border with Maryland, which looks just awful. And amazingly, the city, both DPR and DGS say they won't maintain it. So I am working with some neighbors to relaunch the Friends of Chevy Chase Playground. And I am looking for people, probably mostly with young children who use that playground most intensively, to volunteer to help. Because if we cannot get this organization up and going again, we're going to end up with a very expensive replanting that's going to die. And so the idea here is to revive the Friends of Chevy Chase Playground and for them to take on, legally take on the task of maintaining this part of the playground. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, Lisa, I just want to make a statement about the election and about the past 2 years. And it's really been a privilege to serve our ANC 34G as a representative of single member district 02 for the past 2 years. And I'm really proud of the record of this ANC during this period. The vote is in, as we all know, and Bruce Sherman, a resident on Nebraska Avenue, will be succeeding me for SMD 02. I trust that all the members of the commission, both incumbents and new members, will continue the long tradition of progressive and responsive community engagement that has characterized this commission for very many years. So thanks very much. Just
Thank
wanted to
you,
get that in.
John. Thanks, John. Chaz?
Lisa, I wanted, mirroring Peter's announcement, also on January 1st, we lose part of our ANC on the southern border between Chevy Chase Parkway and Nebraska Avenue, which is interesting, but more importantly, there are a couple of different BZA cases that were pending for people wanting waivers to put additions on the back of their homes. And the BZA has pondered it for a couple of months and decided that I think they're deferring most of those cases till the new year so that the new ANC can consider them as well. So they I don't think will come before us in that event.
Okay.
Have we ruled on them? Have we?
No, we haven't brought them up because they weren't actually.
I
One
see.
of them was set for a hearing on like January 12th, and they've
I see.
kicked it out further.
I see.
Connie?
I was just going to, I guess, mirror what John was saying, that I did not run for reelection, and the votes are in, and Peter Lynch will be taking over in the new year once he's sworn in. So wanted to congratulate both Norm Nickel and Peter for running. I think it's very good for more people to run and for more people to understand the nature of this job. And it's been a lot of work. We've done a lot, and I'm pretty proud of it. I think I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot. So wanted to just say that. And the other thing is, I have been webmaster, and I wanted people to know that Chevy Chase Main Street has been providing on their own accord monthly reports to us. The September one is in our October 24th meeting on our October 24th meeting information page. They provided an October report, which is on this meeting information page. And so every meeting, there is a meeting information page. So you get the agenda, you have the video recording after, the chat log and everything. But I've also created a separate page for all those reports. You can find it under task forces and issue areas. You have to scroll down, and it's listed as Chevy Chase Main Street, and you'll be able to find those reports. And after I retire from this job, someone else will take over as webmaster, and hopefully we'll continue that tradition. And one last thing is street lighting. Peter is leading that effort on making sure that if there are any complaints, it's there. But that's also, there is also a page under resources on our website, and it says street lighting. And if you want to file a 311, there's instructions on how to do it. It was a little bit hard to do, actually. I tried and I was a little confused. So I wrote those instructions down for our community to be able to follow along, but also feel free to contact Peter, Commissioner Gosselin, for any complaints, and he'll walk you through. That's it.
And Randy?
Yeah, and keeping with Connie's and John's announcements, I also want to welcome Jim Nash and congratulate him on his election to succeed me in my ANC. And I'm looking forward to his being my commissioner going forward after January 1st.
Chaz?
Well, Lisa, we shouldn't leave out Zach Ferguson then, who will replace me as well. A young lawyer with a bright future, and I'm glad he's making the ANC a part of it.
So just to let the community know, I have not mentioned anybody as a winner until we have certified results in. So that's why I don't want you guys to feel slighted, but I've learned my lesson running to wait until you get certified results. But some of these races are uncontested, so you guys are in, and then some of them, the vote count is a pretty wide margin, very difficult to make up. So it is what it is. But definitely once those certified results come in, we will make sure we give everybody kudos, and hopefully those incoming commissioners, I know a lot of them, if not all of them, are here tonight, give you guys an opportunity to say hello to the community. All right, any other commissioner announcements? Okay, community announcements. I see a bunch of folks out there. If you can raise your hands, I see Declan, D, Amir. If you guys have community announcements, raise your hands and we'll promote you.
And as you're doing that, Lisa, let me remind people, both commissioners and people making community announcements, they need to give me text or I won't put it in the minutes. If it's important to you for it to be in the minutes, you need to give me text. Even Amir, who is usually almost as regular as Randy, failed to give me text this time. Although today he finally did. But Declan, that goes for you too. I don't have any text for October 24th.
Amir says no announcements today. And how many participants? We have a total of 35, 29, 27 attendees, 29 attendees, 6 panels. Okay. James, you want to go first, then Declan?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. So I have some really quick comments tonight and announcements. One is legislative. Next Tuesday, we have the first hearing for the Green New Deal for social housing that the council member has introduced. The Green New Deal for Housing Act, which would create social housing in DC, has a new hearing date. So it's a change. It originally was last week and now is on Tuesday, November 22nd, starting at 11 a.m. Social housing is publicly owned, mixed income housing with deeply sustainable elements. Because social housing would be DC-owned, profits that would otherwise go to developers can be reinvested in making rent affordable. To sign up to testify, please email your name and contact information to the Housing Committee at housing@dccouncil.us. And I'm sharing all of that in the chat right now. And I will also share, apologies, I did not introduce myself very well. I am Jim Lewis. I am a constituent services coordinator for Council Member Louis George. So if you call our office or email our office, I'm usually one of the first people to respond. And I help with all the different issues that you may encounter in Ward 4. And I really enjoy my job. So I'm excited to get to know anyone who wants to reach out. The next thing, as Commissioner Gore already talked about, we're having our Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. Our office is partnering with the Lamond Riggs Citizens Association in hosting a turkey giveaway for Ward 4 families. Families can come to Lamond Rec Center, 20 Tuckerman Street Northeast on Saturday, November 19th from 11 to 1 p.m. to pick up their free turkey. Each family can get 1 turkey while supplies last, and proof of Ward 4 residency is requested. Seniors and residents who cannot leave their home and need their turkey delivered can also request a turkey to be delivered to them by calling our office at 202-724-8052 or emailing Team Janice at DC Council with their address and contact information. And I'm going to share that right now. There will be also another turkey giveaway in Ward 4 on Saturday from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Emory Heights Community Center, which is planned by Friends of Emory and the Vernon Davis Foundation. So there'll be 2 events going on Saturday. Finally, we're in the midst of leaf collection. We want to make sure residents have the leaf collection schedule for the season. And I'll share that right here. Residents need to rake their leaves onto their curb or tree box to be collected by Sunday before the collection week. Leaves should not be in bags. 311 requests can be submitted for missed leaf collections to be picked up in paper bags as scheduled yard waste, and our office is happy to reach out to DPW to make sure that your leaves are picked up. And finally, as always, I'm going to share our newsletter. It is an online newsletter that you sign up with your email and your zip code, and we send 1 email a week on Friday morning or Friday afternoon, depending when Alex is done with the newsletter and the council member's done. It has a lot of great updates about the ward and what's going on, and we really recommend you signing up for it. And I am also working on with a council member a bi-monthly or quarterly senior newsletter that we are distributing to all the rec centers and senior centers around the ward. And if you want to request a senior newsletter to be delivered to your home, please let us know. And we're working on the December edition right now. So hopefully that will be coming soon. And that's it.
That's great. Thank you.
Any questions?
Declan?
Hi, thanks so much for having me, commissioners and members of the community. For those I don't know, my name is Declan. I work in Chairman Mendelson's office as a part of his constituent services team. And I'll put all of my information in the chat as soon as I'm done. So please feel free to reach out if there's anything our team can help with, or if you have comments or questions for the chairman, I'm happy to pass those on as well. Just a couple of updates. As has been mentioned a couple of times, the council is now wrapping up its legislative session. And tomorrow there's going to be a pretty packed legislative meeting, including a final vote on the revised Criminal Code Act and a first reading and vote on the chairman's School First in Budgeting Act, which has the goal of stabilizing school budgets going forward. Coming up later this month on November 30th, the chairman is also hosting a hearing on chronic absenteeism and truancy in schools. So if you're interested in learning more about that or signing up to testify, you can do so at the chairman's website, which is chairmanmendelson.com. Earlier this evening, the chairman also held his monthly town hall meeting and discussed a number of topics and answered questions ranging from the criminal code revisions to the DC Housing Authority and a whole lot of other topics. And that video can be watched back if you missed it at the chairman's Facebook or YouTube pages. And we'll be hosting one more town hall this year in December. So look out for details in a couple of weeks on that town hall meeting. I believe those are my only updates at the moment, but again, I'll put all of my information in the chat and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Any questions for Declan? Let's see something. Okay, looks like we're good, Declan. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Peter, can you address the question that's in the chat about why your district has expanded?
Because the redistricting task force expanded it. My understanding is that as a result of the decennial census, they had to move lines around to keep each of our districts essentially keep each of us representing essentially the same number of people, about 2,100 people. As I campaigned this year, I'm well aware that my district currently ends at 41st Street, and in January 1st, it will extend to 42nd Street, almost to Friendship Heights. Many people in that area between 41st and 42nd feel that they are more oriented to Friendship Heights than to Connecticut Avenue. And there were some who were very upset. As I campaigned in that area, I said to each person on whose door I knocked, I have no dog in this fight. If you guys can do something about this, I'm happy to back you up. So I hope that with some work, I've offered to people in that area to attend 3E's meetings as well as ours, just as an observer. But I hope in time I can, and we as a commission can adequately represent that new area so that they're satisfied that they are heard on subjects, including the subject of the Chevy Chase playground.
We definitely talked about some initial outreach to that location over there.
And I think, I mean, it's really courtesy of Tom Quinn, but I think good things are going to be happening. Good things are going to be happening around that playground, some aspects of that playground. And so I hope that to be part of that and that we're part of that.
All right. Okay. Commissioners Chang and Caldwell, it's your show, Connecticut Avenue Reversible Lanes.
Okay, so can you, Randy or Lisa, can you elevate a few people? So we need Ed
Working on
Stola.
I'm working on it now.
Okay, great. All right, so let me just begin. We have invited back Ed Stoloff and some DDOT, the rest of the, like a few representatives of the DDOT team to give us an update on the Connecticut Avenue reversible lane and multimodal safety project, which is ongoing. And Ed will give us a presentation. What I expect is that after this presentation, we will see any questions should be posed in the Q&A on this webinar. Chat, you could certainly freely use that, but the Q&A is what I'm going to look at to read it out loud and for Ed's team to respond. I'll have a chance to give commissioners time to ask their own questions, but I just would like to press forward with Ed, who's going to share his screen with his presentation. And if Christian, Sean, and Charlotte, if you could all please turn on your video, because in the video recording, can't see your faces, can't see anything, not your names or anything. So if you can do that, and then what I would ask you each to do is to introduce yourselves. What part of DDOT do you work for? And how are you affiliated with this project? So that when Ed starts, people will know your position, and then if you field any Q&A, they'll understand why you're fielding it. So I guess, Ed, you should start first.
You're muted. You're muted, Ed. Ed, you're muted.
I think he knows he's, yeah.
How about now? Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me as well as our other members of our DDOT team here this evening. Connie asked us to make a presentation tonight, primarily to get everybody up to speed in terms of where DDOT is and where the project is in terms of planning and design. It's been since December 19, actually. So it's going to be 3 years since we've been working on this project, and we just want to make sure that everyone is, has the same level of understanding. So we do have a presentation. The presentation basically might seem repetitive for a few folks, but it might be a refresher, for others. And then we can get on to some of the questions and comments so that you have. So again, I manage the project planning branch within DDOT, and I'd like to have the other 3 folks on our team introduce themselves in order of what I see. Christian first.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, commissioners, again for having us. I know you're very familiar with us coming by, so always a pleasure to come by. My name is Christian Pinheiro. For those who don't know, I am the Ward 3 Community Engagement Liaison for DDOT, and I work very closely with Ed and his team on the outreach piece for this project in the agency.
Thanks, Christian. Sean.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Burnett. I am the manager for Washington, D.C.'s Bike Lane Program.
Thank you, Sean. And Charlotte.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. Good to see many of you all again. I am the public engagement consultant working with DDOT on the Connecticut Avenue Reversible Lane project. And Ed, just to note, Jamie has also joined as well. I just saw
Okay,
in the chat.
And Jamie,
I think Randy will elevate him, and then
okay.
let's have Jamie introduce himself, herself. I'm not exactly sure. So Jamie, if you can turn on your video, we would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I have been promoted now. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Ernst. I'm a transportation planner in the project planning branch. Nice to meet all of you.
Thank you, Jamie. Now, Connie and Randy, if you could tell me how I can share my screen. I see a green button, right?
You can do it.
All right. Let's see if I can do this. And let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
And just for the
Great.
public to know, Ed will provide me with the file. We'll upload it to the meeting information page so everyone will have it after the meeting.
Great. Thank you, Connie. And thank you, Connie and Chaz, for basically working with us on the Citizen Advisory Committee over the last over a year now. So thank you. So I'm going to start right now with the first slide, and this is really the agenda for the presentation. Just to give you a little bit of a project background. Number two, what is the project? Some people may not know what the project really is. Providing you with the project timeline, a little bit about some of the community engagement that we've had so far and some of the things that we intend to do in the future, some of the project's next steps, and then finally taking some questions and comments from you. A little bit about the project background. The 2014 Move DC and the 2021 Move DC update identifies Connecticut Avenue as a bicycle priority corridor. Just wanted to note in red here that Connecticut Avenue is not identified as a transit priority corridor in Move DC. If you're interested in looking at our transit priority plan, it is online. We can get you that link, but that transit priority plan identifies 51 corridors in the District of Columbia, and you'll be able to see which corridors are identified, for transit priority improvements in that plan. There was the Connecticut Avenue Corridor Crosswalk Safety Project in 2015 by ANC 34G. There was a Cleveland Park bicycle analysis in 2016. In 2018, there were 3 ANC resolutions requesting that DDOT, that's ANC 3C, 3F, and 34G, all in 2018. And then we did have substantial community involvement in shaping the request for qualifications when we put out the proposal for the study. These are just shots of the resolutions. The first resolution was the ANC 34G resolution requesting DDOT to actually conduct the study. And then the clip on the left or on the right is actually showing the support for concept C from ANC 34G. So when we started the project, we had 3 primary goals. One was to reduce crashes and fatalities in the corridor and improve safety for all modes. We wanted to consider a protected bicycle lane, and we wanted to assess the feasibility of removing the reversible lane operations. Again, Vision Zero was the overriding goal for this study. Just to give everyone a sense of the magnitude of crashes that we looked at initially, we had over 1,500 crashes in a 5-year period, 2015 to 2019. There were over 400 crashes that resulted in injuries, 64 crashes that involved pedestrians, and 39 crashes that involved bicycles. Some of the characteristics of Connecticut Avenue before the pandemic: the speed limit was 30 miles per hour. The right-of-way in the corridor varies from about 100 to 140 feet. There were 6 10-foot lanes. So there was a curb-to-curb width of 60 feet. And generally, the volume in a pre-pandemic, in the pre-pandemic phase was around 24 to around 32,000 vehicles per day. Our corridor is 2.7 miles. And that was the corridor selected because of that was the length of the reversible lane system. In the peak hours, we had 4 peak lanes going into DC in the morning and 2 lanes going in the off-peak direction out of the District of Columbia. And just as a note, there was about 70% of the cars and trucks used 2 of the 4 lanes during the peak direction. Peak lanes. So what is the project? Concept C basically will provide protected bicycle lanes on the east and west sides of the corridor. We have 3 possible configurations of concept C. One is there will be 2 lanes. One configuration would be 2 lanes, 2 travel lanes in each direction during all periods. And then we show a bike lane of 5 feet and a buffer of 4 feet on each side of the road. We can also put left turn pockets on the road. And as you can see, if we have a left turn pocket, we show a 9-foot either northbound or southbound turn lane. And then we show a 4-foot bicycle lane with a 1.5-foot buffer. And that's no parking on that section. If we have parking, we can have parking on one side of the street. And we show 4 10-foot travel lanes with a bicycle lane on the west side of the street, 4 feet and 1.5-foot buffer. And then on the side where there's parking, a 4-foot and a 2.5-foot buffer. We also wanted to reduce the speed limit on Connecticut Avenue from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. And we've done that already this summer. The project also includes the placement of speed enforcement cameras in the corridor. We'd like to install dynamic speed feedback signs as well to provide drivers with visual speed warnings. We also want to consider far side bus stop relocations to increase bus efficiency. This just gives you kind of the lay of the land. We are planning left turn lanes, right turn lanes, pedestrian signals. We'll need to do additional study for those. Right turn on red, no right turn on reds, pedestrian refuge islands, and a number of intersections we want to look at for approach realignments. For example, removing the slip lane at Military. And also parking clearances. We want to remove parking that is within 25 feet of an intersection due to the visibility issues that it creates.
Ed, what?
Yes.
There's not a slip lane at
The
Military.
right turn, like a free flow right turn lane.
There is.
It's at Nebraska, not Military.
And that's what I think, that's what I think he's talking about. yeah.
Nebraska, yeah. Okay. I have 2 maps here, and again, these maps are on our website. We show we basically concept map 10 and 11 provides the designs for the intersections and the roadway section in ANC 34G. So that's maps 10 and 11. And I know this may be hard for everyone to see. I might be able to, I don't know if I can increase this at this point or not, but you can see we have dedicated, where you see a DLT, you can see we have dedicated left turn lanes or dedicated right turn lanes. At Huntington, for example, you can see RM, that's a raised median. We show the dimensions of each section where you see just arrows with a left and a right, a straight and a left and a right. Those are shared lanes, like a through right or through left lane. We show where no turn on reds are, and we show where the existing bus stops are, as well as a proposed bus stop relocation. And again, this is map 11, Jocelyn to Legation Street, and that's the present terminus of the project. Now, these are some of the comments, and I won't read them verbatim, but I'll read just a couple. These are comments that the public has provided DDOT with, and we'll place all of these comments where DDOT will basically be studying each of these comments and determining how our design can change based upon all the comments received. For example, there was a lot of comments, I would say, Connecticut at Jocelyn, Connecticut at Harrison, Connecticut at Kanawha, Connecticut at Legation, basically indicating, hey, pedestrians have some difficulties crossing. So we will be looking at each of those intersections during the next design phase. Regency House Senior Housing requires Metro access curbside usage. Concerns about left turns at Huntington with the fear of causing cut-through traffic. Number 10 here, more pickup drop-off needed along the corridor. Basically the last one on this page, Military Road backs up and people cut through Kanawha. These are just some examples. On map 11, again, the senior housing was notated. The Chevy Chase House ambulances stop there several times a week. Basically, parking on Kanawha is difficult. Can the street be signed to eliminate potential cut-through traffic to Nevada, and so on and so forth. So, we take all of these comments very seriously, and our team, our design team, our community engagement team will be looking at these and seeing how we can integrate all of the comments that the public have given us in the context of Concept C. We're not going to be able to do everything, but we're surely going to try to do as much as we can, given what we've heard from the public. So the project timeline, just to refresh everyone's memory. We started the project actually at the very end of December 2019. We did some data collection in the winter and the spring of 2020. I want to note that our data collection was done prior to the pandemic, but we've also done data collection, throughout after we're still in the pandemic, but a post major pandemic. We went through initial concept development in the spring and summer of 2020. We held a number of stakeholder meetings. We did traffic modeling in the fall of 2020. We developed concepts in the winter of 2021. We held our first public meeting on March 30th and April 1st, 2021. We had a comment period from April 1st to May 8th, 2021. The DDOT mayoral review period was from just early May until December 15th, 2021. We then, once we got direction from the DDOT leadership and the mayor's office, we developed the initial concept designs. And then we had our public meeting number 2 on June 28th and June 29th, 2022. We held a virtual meeting as well as an in-person meeting at UDC. So we've implemented 2 recommendations already. One is we did formally remove the reversible lanes, the signs and the pavement markings in early summer. And we've also implemented a reduction in the speed limit to 25 miles per hour. And as I said, we also want to look at the placement of enforcement signs, of automated enforcement in the corridor, as well as speed feedback signs as well. So this is the project timeline. And as you can see, during this in calendar year 22, basically between now, the fall, and kind of the spring, summer, early spring, summer, we'll be refining the concept. We'll be doing some traffic calming analysis. We'll be refining the design and basically where people told us they would like to see pickup drop off and potential parking changes. We'll be looking at that in our next design. And we'll also be conducting a design procurement for the preliminary and final designs phase. Again, roughly the preliminary and final design phase will happen, call it summer 23 until sometime in mid calendar year 24. And then we would hope to start the construction procurement in 24. And then perhaps we hope the design would actually start in the end of 24 or the beginning of fiscal year or calendar year 2025. It kind of gives you a bird's eye view of where we are today and then where we think we're going, where we hope we're going in the future. In terms of community engagement, from the inception of the project, we have had a community advisory committee. And as you can see on the right, the names of the folks that have been on our CAC. And as you can see in red, I have Connie Chang's name and Chaz Cadwell's name. They have been active in our CAC for a while. And I think what I would ask ANC 34G now, since Connie and Chaz will be rotating off, is to select another 2 folks to be on this CAC group that we have. And we meet periodically. And we use the Community Advisory Committee as a sounding board before we go to the public. So basically, we want the CAC to help disseminate information about the project. We want them, CAC members, to communicate with the ANCs themselves and ANC members. And then we want good ideas. We want basically critique of our plans. And so I do thank Connie and Chaz and basically Chris Farmaluti was initially on, as well as Andy, Randy, you were on as well. And I thank you all. And so I look forward to having your selection of 2 more folks as we embark on the next phases of the project. In addition to the CAC, we hold stakeholder meetings, and we'll show our list in a minute or 2. We have what we call our interagency meetings, and the interagency meetings consist of people from the police and the FEMS fire department and Homeland Security and WMATA, and basically the district agencies to provide feedback and critique on our plan. We have public meetings, as we've talked about, and we have our website. We'll get into that in a moment, but I'm hoping that we can upgrade our website to provide easier access and accessibility in the next few months. So this is just a list. We won't read everything, but basically it's a running list of key events and meetings that we've had during the project duration, starting really in before the pandemic in March 2020, all the way through today. And as you can see, the ANC meetings, we've met with the Main Street organizations, we've met with the citizen associations, we've met with the Smithsonian Zoo, Howard School of Law, the Woodley Park, the Main Streets, as I said. We've met with WABA and We3BA. We've met with the State Historic Preservation Office. We've met with buildings, the residential property managers. We've met with the schools. So again, I won't read all of these, but you can see intermixed with this is our CAC meetings, public meetings, schools. And then did I add today's meeting? Need to add today's meeting on that. Anyway, so public meeting number 2 was held on, as I said, on June 28th and 29th. The in-person meeting was at UDC, and we received probably over 150 design and operational suggestions. And again, as I said, DDOT will be reviewing all of these suggestions and developing dispositions for these. We can do it, we can't do it, and so forth, and then why. Again, this slide was out of place, but basically it shows you that the last meeting that we've had is the meeting tonight, ANC 34G. We had our walkthroughs, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. We had our community parking and loading and access walkthroughs on 3 dates in October, and that's October 3rd, 11th, and 17th. And again, this is a few photos of the community walkthroughs. And again, the main purpose of the walkthroughs was to really meet people, to get feedback so we can incorporate feedback into our next set of concept plans. Here's some demographics and how the walk went. In terms of registrant zip codes, well, we had about 80 different people attend. The over 3/4 of the zip code people that attended were from zip code 20008. And we had about 14% of the folks, participants from zone 20015. As you can see, in terms of ANCs, we had about 40% of the people in ANC 3F, about 32% of the people in ANC 3C, and again, about 14% of the participants from ANC 34G. In terms of the age distribution of the participants, we basically had a good amount of people from all age groups. And the significant thing was, I don't know, that we've had, if you look at the population and the registrants from age 55 to 64, 65 to 74, and 75 plus, we had about 40% of the folks that were really over 55. In terms of our racial distribution of the walkthrough participants, it kind of mirrored the city as a whole and the corridor percentage. We were a little low, I would say, on the Black or African-American folks that joined us. And pretty much the other ones are in sync. I think the Hispanic and Latino folks were only 1.3% compared to the corridor percentage, 13%, and the city as a whole of 11%. So our goal was really to strive for diversity in terms of who attended the walks, and this was really the final result of who attended. In terms of folks with disabilities that attended the walks, we had really 10% of the people with a disability. The corridor percentage of people with a disability was 8.4%, and all of DC folks with disabilities 11%. So we really did, I think, we had a good representation of people that had disabilities, and the disabilities were all types. They were basically blind. We had folks with heart conditions, with bad legs, and physical disabilities as well. So I think we really got some very good comments from, again, folks with disabilities. In terms of registrations, by concept map, if you look at ANC 3-4G, we had actually the lower, we had about 16 and 18 folks from ANC 3-4G for concepts maps 10 and 11. So I would say a little bit lower than some of the other ANCs. So again, this just gives you kind of a flavor for who participated in our parking walks. And I think it was really highly successful. We really got to meet the people, and talk to people as long as we could. We were actually out on those 3 days for over 19 hours. We were basically started at 8 in the morning and we finished at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And so I really thought that was a really good way to have our community, a part of our community engagement process. And I'd hope to replicate that, in the future. In terms of plans for future engagement, it's a little thin. We don't have everything codified yet, but we definitely will continue the Community Advisory Committee. We'll continue to meet with the ANCs. Charlotte maybe can talk a little bit about stakeholder meetings. We'd like to have public meetings, we call it, at strategic points in the design and the construction process. I want to make sure we update the website, make it more accessible for folks, as I said, and try to do that by the end of January. And then have quarterly project status reports that we can put on the website for everyone to basically keep up with the progress of the project. Let me stop real quick and ask Charlotte if she would like to say anything about our future engagement.
Thanks, Ed. I do know that we have some upcoming stakeholder meetings. We just met again with the zoo. You all, just to kind of go through some other feedback from them regarding Concept C. We will be meeting with some of the schools again since a lot of their protocols have changed since we've been moving forward in the pandemic. So we also have some other civic groups that we'll be following back up with, that some of you all are a part of as well. So we're looking forward to some of the other kind of other stakeholder engagement components, along with some of our interagency groups that we'll still be meeting with to flesh out some things on Concept C as well. And I think Ed's going to speak a little bit about this too. There's lots of other opportunities, of course, to weigh in as we go through the full design, and then from design to construction through DDOT's process. So there will be other opportunities, of course, to weigh in through 100% design.
Yeah. I'm thinking though, and again, we don't have this fleshed out yet, but I would like to kind of put our community engagement a little bit in a quiet period at this point. We got so many comments from people, and I think now's the time that DDOT needs to assess those comments and then develop the next iteration. So I'm thinking that it would be best to kind of do our work, have our designers look at all the comments, and then we can basically, once we have the next iteration, start the next round of stakeholder engagement. I think that might be the best, because I think we really did get a lot of good comments from people. Okay, thank you, Charlotte. Again, next step. So as I started to say, we would like to start refining the concepts, between now and late spring. We'd like to incorporate the parking and loading changes into the revised plans. We'll evaluate all the technical comments that we got. We'll develop a revised concept plan. And then our concept plan, the concept plan that we develop will be forwarded to the DDOT Infrastructure Management Administration, IPMA, to start the preliminary engineering. We will also, actually, you'll probably see on the road now, on a few of the roads in ANC 34G, traffic counts. We're going to do our first phase of traffic counts starting this week. And we're going to count on Connecticut Avenue again. We've counted basically in 2020, 2021. This will be 2022. So we have a real good idea. We will have a real good idea of the fluctuations of counts between the pre-pandemic and the post-pandemic variations in traffic. But we also want to look at potential traffic calming, as we promised you, on some of the collector streets and local streets, minor arterials that are within the project study area, including ANC 34G. So you can see, I won't read all of these roadways that we have on the screen here, but we, and certainly we're not going to look at every single one. We have some criteria for what we might look at in terms of what's already in the pipeline, or the traffic volumes, the functional classifications, if there are crashes, and what you told us. You basically told us in public meeting number 1, some of the issues that you have with regard to concerns about traffic diversion. And we want to look at those streets and see if we can do some proactive measures to stave off some of the diversion, certainly not all of the diversion, but to stave off some of the diversion that might occur as a result of the project. Regarding the potential extension from Legation Street to south of Chevy Chase Circle, again, this was a suggestion by the public during many of our meetings. We will start to analyze traffic, safety, parking, and multimodal and environmental conditions. We'll do the same level of due diligence and analysis that we did for the section from Calvert Street to Legation Street. We'll make a recommendation on whether to include or not to include this extension in the project. And we certainly will engage the community, the residents, the businesses, the ANCs, and our stakeholders throughout the decision-making process. We haven't started that yet. I need to make a decision about when we'll start that, but we basically, I think my goal is to get the concept design for this first phase done and then move on to this second phase. These are the kinds of things on the screen over the next two slides as to what we'll be looking for in the concept and preliminary design process over the next 18 months. Again, we'll be looking at ADA, parking spaces and provisions for wheelchairs. We'll be kind of honing in on bus stop locations. Will we near side bus stops, far side bus stops, any potential relocations, intersection designs, slip lane removals, our design for left and right turn lanes, traffic signal operations and pedestrian crossing times, no turn on reds. We'll be making sure that we have provisions for the safe boarding of buses, including platforms at the same level of sidewalks. We'll be looking at, again, as I said, potential revisions to parking, loading, and pickup drop-off. Our parking, we'll be looking at parking durations in terms of time of day usage and side street usage and potential recommendations. We'll be looking at the design of refuge islands, medians, and curb extensions. We want to make sure that we integrate this project with any other existing projects, such as the Van Ness Streetscape project and the Cleveland Park Streetscape and Drainage project. We'll be looking at buffers, the types of buffers and materials to be used for the protected bicycle lanes, pedestrian signals at potential locations such as hawks, signage design, traffic signal operational changes, that's timing, phasing, and the implementation, as I said, of some traffic calming improvements at various locations. Sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. And these kinds of things happen not in the concept design phase, but they happen in the preliminary engineering phase, which we're hoping to start in the summer. And I just wanted to let everyone know of DDOT's commitment to designing protected bicycle lanes for pedestrian safety. And we'll adopt a design approach to bolster pedestrian safety by including and implementing marked crosswalks at bicycle lanes at key locations, and we'll use high visibility markings. We'll look at strategic signage to alert cyclists to the presence of pedestrians, and we'll ensure clear sight lines at accessible parking spaces to meet ADA aisle width, and we'll be looking at bicycle traffic calming techniques at targeted locations. Well, these are just some of the things, and I just wanted to emphasize our commitment to pedestrian safety. I think that is the end of the presentation. Connie, I'm hoping
Okay.
I didn't go too long.
No, thank you so much.
I'm hoping this will kind of get everyone up to kind of the same level with regard to where the project is.
This is great. So you have a big team with you, and there are some questions you could just answer on the Q&A. So please just do that, because there's some questions that are just about links, about some facts. Someone could answer that while we go commissioner to commissioner with some of their questions, and then I'll go back to the Q&A quickly to see what I could read out loud that really needs a fuller answer. So try to tackle, I don't know who on your team could just try to tackle some of the easier ones to answer. And I don't know if Michael was first or Peter. Who was first in raising your hand?
Michael can go.
Okay, Michael, you were first. Why don't you, we can't hear you, and why don't you ask your question?
Stop
But
share. Okay.
yeah, stop share. But listen, guys, we are scheduled to end this at 8:15. I want all the questions addressed. So let's ask the question quickly and then have an answer that's as comprehensive as you can, but quickly.
So is it up to me now?
Yes,
Connie?
the floor is yours, Michael.
So let me just say, because I missed the introductions because I'm out in Santa Fe on a family event, and I didn't get permission to leave until just when I joined. And so I'm Michael Zeldin. I represent 3G04, which is Lafayette Elementary at its heart, and then Broad Branch, Utah, Western, that area. So I'm sorry for being late, but that was the best. This is the best I could do. So the only thing I have, Ed, to make a comment on in respect of traffic calming is that when Oregon Avenue went under construction, and traffic was being diverted. What happened was that Waze and Google Maps and those companies learned of this. And what they started doing was redirecting cars down Tennyson, down Rittenhouse, down some of the other streets to be able to avoid the Oregon Avenue construction. And it gets baked into Waze. And now, even though the street is open, the volume of cars that Waze directed as a workaround to Oregon Avenue remains the same. So the only thing I would ask of you is that as you start this design process, that you take into account that Waze is going to be working side by side with you to get cars off of traffic-filled lanes. And if you wait for your signage and the like until too close to the construction, it'll be too late to undo the diversion that Waze and Google Maps will have already caused. So just sort of be mindful of how pernicious, if you will, those things can be for the local side streets.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to move on. Thank you, Michael. Peter, you're next.
Yeah, let me say, I went on some of the walks. Ed, Sean, Charlotte, you're all good people of goodwill. You're all willing to share information and listen to us. I don't contest any of that. It seems to me that the primary findings of the problem that we were trying to solve here is that we need greater safety and we need to meet our climate goals. The problem I have is that the solution that has been settled on with Concept C is that bikes are the answer. And the question I raise is whether there are not other answers or additional answers. In particular, I'm very concerned about what these lanes will do for bus safety. And one of the things that I hope you don't do, Ed, that you said you want to do, is go into a quiet period.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to build a constituency and some sort of agreement for what needs to be done to meet these two primary goals, safety and climate goals, you're going to need to have more meetings. And I understand that as an official of DDOT, under the mayor who's already made the decision about Concept C, it's hard to do, but you will have done the mayor a great favor.
Yeah.
If you open the debate to more than fixes, if you open it to a discussion of whether there are other or additional solutions to meet those two primary goals. Thanks. And let me just say one other thing. I think you've talked about the ANCs that approved this. Our ANC had a courageous commissioner who voted no, John Higgins. I abstained. Were this to come up for a vote again, I want it clear that as currently conceived, I would vote against it. Not that it makes a lot of difference, but just so I'm on the record.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
want to go back to, thank you, DDOT people like Sean, you're answering the questions. Keep doing that because time is running out and whatever I'm going to say out loud, we don't have that much time left. John, Commissioner Higgins.
Yes, as Peter mentioned, I was the outlier in the ANC decision. I had concerns about bicycle safety. I think I mentioned at that point that bicycles will be protected by painted lines in the street, thin little sticks, and maybe an occasional cement barrier. I don't know if that question has been answered because some of your graphics showed painted lines in the street. So I'd like to address the issue of strong physical protection for the cyclist. Another thing is during this campaign, when I would knock on doors, the issue that people raised most was Connecticut Avenue. And these are all people in 2015 who think it was a terrible idea, period. And not that that's going to matter anymore. I don't know if you can put the genie back in the bottle, But I think that is something to consider if you're thinking about ligation to Chevy Chase Circle in the future. One technical question I have is you mentioned the right of way is 100 to 140 feet wide. And you can clarify this and explain it if you will. Whatever you do, whatever configuration you're going with left turn lanes or whatever it is, it's still going to be 60 feet. And the right of way is anywhere from 100 to 140. So there will be surplus space, surplus right of way of anywhere from 40 to 80 feet. What are the plans for that right of way? Are they just going to stay as they are? Is there any way that those right of ways could be worked into the design process?
I'll take a stab at that. A lot of that is our sidewalk width, right? And our furnishing zones, our tree boxes, et cetera. So we started the project with the goal of not moving curbs. Now we might, in order to get additional loading in or potentially parking in, we might look at areas where if we have to go 1 foot or 2 feet in, perhaps I think that could be on the table. But we started the project with the premise that we would not move curbs.
Okay, I'm moving on. Randy. Thank you, John.
Ed, when you first produced Concept C and our ANC voted on that, I voted in favor of Concept C, but I raised a lot of specific questions. And some of those are included, I think, in the outline of the work that you've got remaining. But one in particular was the diversion of traffic to other streets. And I think you probably identified all of the right streets, but you said that not all of them would be included in your study. When are you going to make that decision? And is there any way that we might influence that decision?
Certainly. That's why we're doing phase 1 during the next couple of weeks. In fact, we're doing Linnaean Avenue, I believe, this week. We're doing Connecticut Avenue. So we're doing what I'm calling some early counts and early streets that I think we definitely want to do. But if you can kind of look at that list, if you'd like, and you'll have this presentation and prioritize some of these things. We definitely can't look at the whole everything, but I know certain folks in ANC 34G, talked about Reno Road, we talked about 41st Street. So I kind of, I've heard a lot of the major concerns and the major traffic diversions concerns from your constituents. And so those are the ones I put at the top of my list, but I definitely want to hear from you. You can kind of circle those or send me an email saying, these are my top priorities, and I definitely will consider those.
Thanks.
Okay, great. I'm going to very quickly go through some of these questions. And if there's an answer, and if please answer. If there is not an answer, please figure out a way to respond after this meeting. Jill asks, have the consequences of removing the reversible lane been captured and evaluated?
I think as I said, we have traffic counts from 2018, from February 2020, a month before the pandemic hit. We took traffic counts in December of 2020 and December of 2021. Now I'm going to take traffic counts in November, December as well. So we'll definitely be able to show you the curve as to how traffic changed from when before the reversible lanes, when they were in operation versus what it looks like now. So, and we'll be glad to put that on the website and share that with you, just to give you a little sense of what happened during the pandemic. Compared to 2018, when we took our first count after the pandemic, Connecticut Avenue dropped the 50% of the traffic was of what it was initially. And then when we, a year later, when we took traffic counts, we were up to 66, 67% of what it was pre-pandemic. So now we're going to find out when we take our set of counts now, where we are compared to our baseline condition.
Okay, great. And I think that answers Lee Mayer's question. So I'm going to say that that's answered live. Here's another question. Is there a list of percentage of businesses that have been reached within ANC 34G? So most of the businesses are north of Legation, and you have not yet done that study. Is that correct?
Correct,
Ed?
correct.
Okay, so I think that that answers that question. Stephen asks, is there a plan to reduce the speed limit on Nebraska Avenue near Connecticut Avenue to at least match the new 25 miles per hour Connecticut Avenue speed limit?
Not currently, but Christian is here and Christian is hearing that request. So we can talk about it when we get back to the office.
Okay, next one. When will the arterial? Okay, so let me control the answer live, please. Whoever's, I don't know who else is doing this because I'm trying to read it so I know that I've done it. So let me control that, please. When will the arterial load related to Beach Drive closure be added to your study of traffic specific to concept C?
We've looked at that, and if you look at the National Park Service analysis that they've done online, it's online, and we've actually looked at it compared to Connecticut Avenue. There is a nominal amount of additional traffic, and again, we'll be happy to share that with you.
Okay, if someone on your team could put a link to type an answer, that would be very helpful for the anonymous attendee. Okay, another question from the anonymous attendee. Legation North, map 12. Understanding your position, what can be done to not have this done as an add-on? We need to find a way to have a tangible vision of what map 12 entails versus later on.
I mean, I can't give that to you because we haven't started the study yet. So basically it would be Legation, north of Legation to perhaps somewhere south of
The
Chevy
circle.
Chase Circle.
Mhm.
And we haven't done it yet, so I can't give you that answer.
Okay, next question. Josh's question. Thanks, Sean. Some of the intersections I think where it could be helpful are signalized, some aren't.
I think that was one that I answered in the Q&A and
Okay.
he responded within the Q&A.
Perfect. I'm dispensing with that. An anonymous attendee, what is your NOI process? Can you explain community notification, engagement aspects? None so far, despite lane changes, speed limit changes. Do we have a communications breakdown?
Christian can answer that question about the NOI process.
Yeah, definitely. So we did do an NOI for the speed limit changes. For any additional things, we'll look at like parking changes that go either expand what our regulations are or have to indicate to the public that that's going to be a new change. We will follow up with an NOI process. That's our standard legal binding document that we'll do. So as we continue more with the studies and the processes, the public will be engaged in that manner.
I think what we could also add is any notification we can post on our website on the homepage. So when it comes, we can do that, and we have been trying to do that.
Yep.
Okay, so the Jessica asks, the bike lane will slow down,
Connie,
but what? Sorry,
you go on,
have we run out of time?
No, hang on a minute. Christian, when you talk about the NOI process, what's the ANC's role in that?
Yeah, so I know we've gotten a lot of questions about how it's distributed currently. We actually rely on the ANCs to distribute those out, whether it's through a listserv, going through sending letters through to residents that way. So it's really ad hoc on how it's best for the ANC. But we've gotten a lot of feedback that that's a pretty good process for us to kind of at least allow you guys as the elected representatives to get in touch with your constituencies.
Really? No, that's not a good process. Let me just say this, and this is why I specifically caught that. And we've had this discussion on Barnaby Street. The ANC doesn't have a mechanism to, reach our 34,000 or however many constituents there are. I would encourage DDOT to do something different. If you could put something out, a flyer, a mailer, or something else. I mean, we just have social media, the website, which nobody goes on, next door, Chevy Chase Chatter. I mean, our means of broad outreach is extremely limited. And I don't want the community to be confused about that at all. So I don't know, Ed, if you guys have budget or whatever you can do to do something different, but to rely on the ANCs to get that message out to all the constituents in its jurisdiction is just absent. It's not there.
I mean, as Christian said, this is kind of the DDOT administrative process, but we can go back and kind of discuss, the concerns.
Okay.
Let's move on. Jessica, the bike lane will slow down bus service significantly. How does this help the environment? The reality is that slowing down traffic will increase emissions and harm the environment. Why is DDOT slowing down bus service? You could either answer this now or you could type your answer in.
I think that should be answered out loud.
Yeah, I would say that this is a bicycle priority corridor. It is not a transit priority corridor. So traffic will slow, buses may slow, but we're mitigating some of the bus efficiencies by creating far side stops, because a far side stop will have less dwell time. It's safer for pedestrians as well. We'll be looking at other measures for transit as well. So we're working with WMATA, we're working with our transit delivery division to ensure smooth bus service.
Okay, thank you, Ed. When will the arterial load related to Beach Drive closure be added to your study of traffic specific to concept C?
I think we
You answered that
discussed
already.
that.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Ed requested that ANC provide open position CAC representation. What can be done to open up CAC representation to include severely impacted business owners, local, near Connecticut impacted residents along Connecticut?
We rely on the ANCs to provide us the representatives. So, we typically ask the ANC members to be included on that. But if you have other representatives that you would like, we have 2 open spots. We can discuss that. But all of our CAC meetings are open to the public. We basically put out a notice, and again, it's on your website. And again, we can talk about, if you said people don't look at your website, but we do provide a notice to the ANCs, and we can maybe talk about better dissemination mechanisms to get more people to attend those CAC meetings, but they are open to the public.
Okay, great. Lee asks, who was in attendance in the interagency meeting on July 20th, 2020? And did they see the concept maps? What input did the MPD and DC FEMS offer?
I can't tell you that right now. So that's something we have to think about. Yeah.
Okay, so would you agree, Lee asks, to send out a flyer to all Ward 3, Ward 4 residents, informing them of the existing bike lane project and intent to extend it to Chevy Chase Circle?
Yeah, I can't make that commitment now, but that's something that our community engagement consultant and Christian, community engagement specialist, and our team will discuss different ways to reach the greatest amount of the public that we can.
Okay, anonymous attendee, has the racial lens specific to concept C been applied, and what were those results?
As I showed you the demographics, we know the demographics of the corridor. I showed those to you, and we strive for diversity based in terms of attendance at our meetings, as well as attendance in our walkthroughs. And again, we ask the ANCs when we did our community walkthroughs, for example, to provide us with a diverse set of folks that could actually attend the walkthroughs. And I think we did well. We didn't do as good as I would like, but I think we did pretty well.
Okay, last question here, Peter Lynch. He's asking about the September CAC meeting and the minutes, and he can't find it. And I know that you talked about updating your website. Can you give him an answer to that?
Yeah, they're not up yet. Again, we will have those. Peter's called me a number of times. I just haven't had time to get to that point, but to get those done. But so they will be done.
I believe that is it. And if you can stay on a little bit while, Chaz, 1 second. If you can, your team can stay on a little bit just to go back and forth on the chat because we're going to have to move on. Let me take Chaz and then Michael. We're
Okay,
about
and
15
and
minutes behind.
Connie,
Mhm.
can you provide us with a copy of the chat? And
Absolutely.
then-
I will do by tomorrow.
Sure,
The
that'd be
entire
great.
chat and the Q&A is going to be on the meeting information page along with the video recording. So you will have it all.
Mhm.
And you're welcome to provide responses, actually. If you wanted me to put that
Okay.
in there, I can actually do that. So we can coordinate. Okay.
Sure, thank you for providing that. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah, Ed, my question goes to something I think I heard you say at some other meeting, but you're not going to start the study of the above Legation Street till you finish with the concept phase for this below Legation. But in terms of doing the analysis and the whole process you've just described to us, but I thought I'd heard you say at one point that that would be compressed, if you will, so that the construction would be integrated with, if there were going to be any, would be integrated with the lower part of the avenue. Is that?
I mean, that would be the goal, but again, looking at our staff resources and
Yeah.
we're doing as much as we can. You know, and again, I'll keep you informed at every step of the process. But again, my goal right now is to complete at least the handoff of this concept design to our infrastructure project management administration. Again, just trying to balance our resources right now.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, you're the last one up.
You're muted.
It's a question I should know the answer to, but I don't. But do you have on the DDOT webpage a dedicated concept C sort of folder or link so that if, as we try, the ANC does try to notify people, we can say, go to DDOT's click on concept C and you'll just keep receiving updated information about this?
Yeah, so we have all the designs are on the website now. One of the thoughts I had is that we would provide a quarterly progress report or status report, and we could put those all in one basket. And so people could see, you know, every quarter what we've done and where we're going.
Right. So my thought would be that if you open the DDOT webpage, it's a pretty complex webpage with a lot of information. If there was one link that said concept C, that would be very helpful, I think.
Yeah. Again, I said we're going to upgrade the website by the end of January. So definitely take that thought into consideration.
And Ed, I was just going to say that I put the project website link in the chat as well. And Garrett as well, just put it in the chat. So there's a link just to the project website because we know it's hard to navigate.
Yeah, and I agree, right? It needs a much better organization and we're going to work towards that end. Hopefully we'll have that by the end of January.
I want to thank your team, Ed, for coming and spending so much time with us. We really appreciate it. And I'll work with you, post-meeting on any kind of like response that you think you want to provide to our community. But thank you so much for coming again tonight.
And I want to thank you for having us. I want to say, DDOT's commitment, my personal commitment is to make this project the safest project for all users, be that bicyclists and cars and trucks and pedestrians definitely and transit users. So again, this is a project for all users, not just one mode. So, and again, safety is the #1 goal of the project.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Everyone, appreciate it.
Okay. Okay. So we'll move on to the next discussion, which is the Maret Project Task Force. And John, do you want to take, I have you down, but I'm more than happy to kind of discuss some of the thoughts I had on this. How do you want to handle this?
Well, if you want to, let me just express some of my ideas. We're coming to the point where the MOU needs to be adopted. And one of the provisions of the MOU is to create a task force. The MOU is basically an agreement between Maret and the ANC. Those are the two parties to the agreement. And so in observation of that, we have a provision that from 3 to 5 commissioners would be on a task force related to Maret's compliance with the MOU. Essentially, the MOU is a compliance document. It outlines a number of stipulations for Maret to comply with during the construction period, 2 months before until 2 months afterward. So obviously, it's important. It's the ANC then will be keeping tabs on Maret to see if these compliance conditions are observed. So we have an outline for 3 to 5 commissioners, as well as Maret as an ex officio member of the task force. So if there's any dispute as to what a violation, if you want to call it that, transgression is, it would be up to the commissioners to determine what that would be, and if there's any sanctions, such as fines for workers parking in the wrong spot or something like that. So we have, Ray has indicated that construction, the construction could begin maybe somewhere mid to late January. So to meet the terms of the MOU, we would have to have the task force in place probably by the end of November. So we would have the meeting of the November 28th to finalize this. However we structure the commission participation or commission designees, because we provided for that, and Michael Osborne, who has done this kind of a task with the Ingleside project with the AMC, has already agreed to be one of our designees. Maret has named a construction person from their side to be their person. The missing link here, of course, is the residents, who should have some input into this whole process. I would suggest, actually, I think I would insist that we work out some kind of a mechanism for participation of the residents on the task force. I'm really hoping that the task force will be a kind of a team-oriented working group where we get the residents, the construction people from Maret, and the ANC to address these issues in an informal way, hopefully without a lot of conflict, and to resolve them, hopefully, say, with people like Michael Osborne. So I think we should have some kind of, have the residents reach out. Well, we could reach out to the residents and ask them for their ideas. We could, of appointing some people. I think if you get a working group more than 7 people, it gets a little bit unwieldy. You have a Maret person, you have 3 ANC commissioners or other designates, that's 4. We have 3 or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 residents. I think it should be noted that there are some residents who are pretty comfortable with this project, and there are some residents who are extremely concerned about this project. So I think we should strive for balance there too. So this is kind of an invitation to the residents to get in touch with us, I guess, with their ideas as to how they would like to participate. But I think creating spots like, if we're going to have Maret as a ex officio and able to participate in discussions at meetings and contribute, so forth, and the residents should have a similar ex officio status so they can attend the meetings and discuss what's on their minds in terms of where they think the compliance situation stands. So we don't have to decide anything specifically tonight, but I think we should make a commitment to make this a broad community kind of situation with all sides getting fair and equitable access.
Okay, so my understanding is that the MOU allows for the creation of a task force that's 3 to 5 members. Those members could be commissioners or commissioner designees, or a combination of both. And I agree with John, we don't have to decide the format of the task force here tonight. I think, and I'll just speak on why I wanted this before the agenda, is because we have to provide the community an opportunity to be part of the task force. From my understanding, once this task force is comprised, and I've talked to Trey and Marjo, and I know Trey is on the line in case there's any technical questions, there's going to be a 60-day period prior to construction starting. And that's one of the key things here. And John has mentioned that The removal of the heritage trees on the project has to occur between this January, March timeline. And then we talk about whether potential impacts to that timeline. So the 28th is the absolute last day that we have to nominate this task force so that we do not hold up this very dear to their heart construction timeline. And I definitely, want to give kudos to Maret-ECC and the GC for trying to follow the letter of the law to the agreement that they set with this community. And that's why they are pressing us to get this task force in place. But there will be a 60-day window of opportunity for the members of the task force, which, as John stated, includes Maret, who's already appointed their membership, as well as the general contractor has already appointed their membership to set up the formal procedures of the task force. And I would assume, John, that would include things like further broader community engagement and input, how decisions are made, what the monitoring schedule might look like, what monitoring might look like in and of itself, the fines that might occur if things go wrong, and just, that sort of detail. So tonight, I think one of the things that I wanted to do and get also a commitment from the ANC is that we advertise that this task force is going to occur, that we give the community a short timeline, since we're on a tight schedule, a 7-day window of opportunity to see if there's any further community members out there that want to participate. I know Mr. Osborne's name has come up several times, but Maret has also offered people within the community that were, in their words, very tough on them, but also fair, that they thought would make great task force members as well. So we have people out in the community. We don't know everybody out there, and we certainly don't know their qualifications and the things that they've done. So it seems fair that we open up this task force to our community members and let them, volunteer participation. And then on the 28th, the ANC can go through those nominees and see who we want to appoint, to include how many commissioners we want to appoint and how many community members. Some of the things too that was brought up is where folks live. So we might want to consider people on the major roadways, Nebraska, Utah, Rittenhouse in, I believe, Nebraska. We might consider viewpoints. Obviously, we want people on the task force that are going to contribute to moving the project forward. That is the most important thing. I think we also have to consider maybe conflicts of interest. We definitely want people that, are not going to be opposing what the task force is going to do. This task force is the sole purpose is to enforce the agreement and the MOU. So to make sure that construction proceeds. So those are some things that we could put out there to the community when we do a solicitation period. And that's what I would like to see a commitment to. Randy, then Peter.
Yeah, this task force was really modeled on what we did with Ingleside a number of years ago during their major construction project, which was in fact much, much larger than what is being contemplated here and lasted over a much longer period of time. And there, what we did was we had representatives from the community that was going to be affected. There were residents at Ingleside who were on the task force, a resident on 39th Place, another one on 32nd Street, another one on 29th Street, another one on Military Road. And they were there really to sort of be the eyes and the ears of the commission as we look at that performance under the MOU. And again, it was just a matter of enforcing the memorandum of understanding to the letter. And that was what we tried to do. So I think this is a way forward for the commission to undertake something very similar to what we did at Ingleside. And the composition of the task force can reflect the neighborhood positions as well as a strong influence from the commission. I think that there were two commissioners who were on that task force, the Ingleside task force as well. So that was important too.
Okay, thanks, Randy. Peter?
So I just want to understand, there have been, each of you has shared ideas. It seems to me that we need to make a very clear ask of people who would like to, community members who would like to be on this task force, to tell us something about themselves, something about their interest in it, whether they have any conflicts. I think we need to, I don't know whether you want to do this as a resolution, but just answer for me then, how are we going to work out this text that we're going to put out to people that this is our, that we're inviting people to raise their hand for joining this group.
I would think between myself, Randy, and John, we could put something together and get it out.
Okay.
We would have to get it out, I think, tomorrow to meet that 7-day deadline and then get responses back to the ANC. But, nothing extensive, just overview of the project or overview of the task force. And then, maybe some things we want them to consider, I don't think it has to be a sticky widget, but we would have to kind of get it together by tomorrow to get it out.
Okay. And you'll send around whatever text you.
Definitely, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Does that sound agreeable to everyone?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Yes, Michael, that's correct. BZA decision has been reached and they're waiting for the final order. That's correct.
The final order has been issued. It's just not in writing yet.
Right.
That's the issue. They have made their final decision. It's just not, there's no written decision. It's taking longer than I think any of us expected.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, thanks everyone. So between Randy, myself, and John, any one of the three of us want to take the lead on that write-up? And send
I'll
it
do that.
Okay,
I'll give it a shot.
thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot. All right, committee reports. Peter, do you want to start with your zoning design and development?
Yeah, well, the committee has had an organizational meeting and started a discussion. I think the most important thing I want to convey is that we are meeting with the city about in discussions of a draft for the new zone. We agreed to go into these discussions to listen, to voice general community concerns, but not to, because it's not a finished product, not to release anything, not to engage in public commentary on it until it gets to a further stage. But I do want to be sure that I want to be transparent on this, that a number of us from the Zoning Design and Development Committee are meeting and listening to the Office of Planning's work product on this, and giving what we think is feedback that are about issues that are likely to come up. It's playing the advisory role that we're supposed to play. So that's that. I guess I'd say one other thing. I think that even at this very outset, it's so clear that there's an immense amount of work, and I think that we're going to be, when we passed the resolution, said that the number of members of this committee could go to 7, and I think we're going to have to look for new members. I have some people who are interested, but I just think that we're going to need all hands on this one. So that's my report. Randy.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one point, and that is that these discussions that we're having with the Office of Planning were what they agreed to as part of passing the small area plan at the council. We specifically asked for this, and they specifically agreed to it, and now they are implementing that agreement.
That's right.
Right. So I also want to emphasize that, which is that we're trying to understand their internal processes for coming up with new zoning. So they're just sharing with us as they go along so that we're more educated about that. And then we are sharing our questions and our concerns, like, we don't understand this, what does this mean? And I think that it is actually quite helpful to be engaged early in that way with the commission. And then when they're ready to make it public, then we will do all that we usually do with the commission. So I think that Office of Planning has been really good about addressing those concerns.
There is a community member, Nancy, that has her hand raised. Nancy, you can ask your question.
Have you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my question is in the chat. My question didn't relate to the order, which you talked about, or the ruling. My question related to the written findings of fact and conclusions of law. And my question is in the chat.
It's harder for us to find them in the chat.
Okay, let me read it to
No,
you.
I can find it. I'll find it.
Okay, thank you.
It was in the chat.
No, it was actually in the Q&A.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought we had
Can the
answered.
ANC explain why is construction beginning before the BZA issues its
Oh.
findings of fact and conclusions of law?
Well,
Is my question.
they are permitted to do that, is my understanding. They're permitted to do that because the BZA has made a decision. They have made the decision. They do it at their own risk. However, if the decision gets overturned on appeal or something like that, but they are permitted to do it based, and they have a permit to do it from the urban forestry as well.
Randy, you're referring to what permit from urban forestry relative to taking
Or
down
the
the trees?
heritage trees, right? For taking down the trees and moving the heritage trees. Yes, they have a permit from urban forestry to do that.
I'm going to promote Trey. He just said that he can provide some clarity. So let me promote Trey. And Trey, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Do you see him? There we go.
People are not abiding by Connie's ask that they come on screen.
That's okay.
Yeah, because
Trey?
the video recording.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, terrific. So Randy started to explain that there. But yes, there are portions of what we are planning to do on the site that are subject to the BZA order. And then there are portions that are not subject to the order. So specifically the trees are not subject to the BZA order, actually. Those we have separate permits from the Department of Urban Forestry for tree removal as well as tree transplant. And so it's a completely separate process. So we're able to move forward on that piece of it. Like I'll give a specific example, building the parking lot is something that is a part of the BZA order. We cannot build that parking lot until we have the written BZA order. But the trees are not part of that. But there's several elements that we can do that are not subject to it.
So Trey, can you speak to the rest of the elements that you're talking about besides the removal of the trees?
Golly, not line by line, but what I would say is we can do what we need to do in terms of moving the trees, supporting them once they are transplanted. So that may include building some support walls for those trees once they're put in their final resting places. We expect, or I should say we hope, that we have our final written order in time enough to begin construction shortly after the trees are moved, and we can do things like construct the parking lot, though that's not guaranteed. But yeah, I can't name them, all the elements line by line, what's specifically subject to the order and what's not. I just know that the trees are first, kind of in the order of events, and those are not subject to the order.
And one last question, are you able to provide any timeline?
On the trees?
Yes, please.
Yes. So Lisa noted that we are hoping by late January that we can get started on that. So we have a contractor identified. It's a matter of getting on their schedule to get that work completed. We are, complying with the MOU, kind of what I would say in the most conservative fashion that we can, in that, before we even do the tree removal, we're trying to have the task force put together, meet with that task force as we're supposed to. And so that'll really let us know when we can actually do that. So I imagine, Lisa, I know I probably owe you some dates for availability of people on our side, and I'm working on that. But if we're able, 60 days after we're able to have that meeting, Nancy, that's when we would look to begin work.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you both. Peter, were you able to get through your report?
That's my report. I mean, more people and we're meeting. That's the message, colon.
So really quick on the Racial and Social Equity Standing Committee, we are meeting tomorrow. We did not have a meeting last month, but we did properly notice the meeting for tomorrow. So that link has been posted and is out in the community. Very robust agenda. Some really good things on the agenda that the committee is going to be considering and hopefully moving forward for the ANC. And with that, the membership will be coming up for a new fiscal year vote. So this might be this week, between this week and next week. I'll be doing a solicitation for membership for race for the FY23 fiscal year 23, and hopefully getting them appointed, I believe December 12th meeting, I believe. But I'm trying to adhere to that 45-day appointment or solicitation period with prior to appointing. So that'll go out and you guys will see that. And it'll be pretty much almost, I'm sure, the same thing that I used the first time for solicitation, but I'll send it to you guys just so you can see it.
I may crib from you.
That's perfectly fine. All right, commission business. Peter?
Yeah, I've taken edits for the October 24th minutes from Lisa, Randy, and Connie. With those taken, I move that we approve the October 24th minutes. Thank you.
Michael?
Thanks, Michael. All right, John?
Okay, we've got a number of things for the treasurer's report. Thank you, Peter, for getting the minutes approved, because that's the last item that I will file for the OANC to document the Q4 report. So that's great. We'll be all caught up on that. Couple of bills we have two Zoom bills to Randy for $222.58 each. We also have a Verizon bill for $155.98. So I would ask approval for those three invoices.
Second. And we'll assume that picture of Michael.
Okay. And Lisa, you said you had some reimbursements. Do you want to give them to me now, or do you want to just put them on paper and we'll do it on the 28th?
Yeah, because I'm gonna try to schedule them out because it's pretty much for the whole year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't have the budget for tonight. We've been talking about that. I will circulate a budget before the 28th. We can discuss it at that meeting and hopefully adopt it at that meeting. Randy pointed out the OANC statute. Lisa pointed out that the OANC said end of December. So I think the sooner we get that done, the better. And I think we can knock it out with the second meeting in November. I'll try that. Lastly, good news on the debit card. I think you also all saw that memo. So Lisa, anytime you're ready, we can do it at the bank up here. I think one of the persons who's going to hopefully be on the commission leadership next year, we can go to the bank and talk to Bernard or his assistant and get that done. And as soon as we get that done, we can start paying some bills. So anytime you're available, well, Thursday's out for me, but maybe we can just coordinate with each other. And if we can get that done this week, it'd be great.
That'll be good. How many people do we have to put on there? Because I think one of the things we're gonna have to do, John, is, and I gotta go back and look at the guidance, is we're gonna need an interim treasurer. And I don't know how that works. I believe it was on the transition information at OANC submitted. It's just been a while since I've read it. But I think we're going to probably have to address that.
I don't think we have to have a transition treasurer. I think you will elect a treasurer at the first meeting in January, and the treasurer can begin acting as treasurer then. Now, what we've done in the past, and I think this is a good practice for every ANC, is in December, we authorized specific checks to be prepared. Any bills that were going to be due like the first 2 weeks in January, we authorized those and actually cut the checks in December so that we didn't have anything hanging around at the beginning of January. And so that can be done again here. If there's anything that's going to come up that where we need a check to be written the first 2 weeks in January, you can do it in December. And then the new treasurer can take over at the first meeting.
But with the debit card, I think we can, the name on the card will be the ANC.
Yeah.
It won't be an individual person. And as long as we have 1 or 2 people who plan to carry over in the leadership next year, we'll have a card and a name.
How does the auditor in the OANC make sure that the expenditure is being approved by the ANC with a debit card?
I don't know specifically, but I think that it would simply be a substitute for the paper check process.
The check has to have 2 signatures. And I don't know how that is accomplished.
Dawn, I think, is working that out within the OANC office. But she said that we could, we've had this problem in doing an ACH transfer, a payment through the check, through the bank account. I think if we use the debit card, that will go in, that will be on our bank statement that we paid we paid $199 and 99 cents out of our debit card, to GoDaddy. And then and prior to doing that, the treasurer could simply propose to the commission, okay, we have paper checks to Verizon and to Zoom, and we have a debit card expenditure for GoDaddy, and that gets approved by the commission at a meeting. And then we can just use the card for one payment and paper checks for the, paper checks for the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Building some internal control.
We would be on record at the meeting for that expenditure.
Yeah.
I know OANC, the last time I spoke with them, which was just last week, they were saying that this wasn't going to get rolled out until after the first of the year. And if we're going to be the first trial of this, I just want to make sure that they've gotten it straight and they know exactly what they're doing. I'm not 100% confident of that.
What I need tonight is approval by the commission to use a debit card for payments.
We should do that.
Dawn said we had to do that in order to get the ball rolling.
I second it. I second this.
If we can have a motion and accept that, then I can take it from there to the bank.
We have to do, we're like 21st century. We have to do this. This is so crazy. Okay.
Yeah, she said, I've been in a pretty good conversation with Dawn back and forth on this. It all was around this thing with Stephanie and GoDaddy. And she said, she said, basically, she said, well, she said, okay, I will allow you guys to be the pioneer on this.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Look,
but I need a resolution from the commission approving this.
So I think,
So I
John,
would like to propose that the commission utilize our debit card at the PNC Bank for purposes of paying bills for the commission.
A second.
second. Vote. Michael? Yes, good.
Okay. All right, that's the end of the business part.
Okay, so for possible items on the 28th, I want to get this agenda done as soon as possible. So if there's any other items, please send them to me as soon as possible. But
There's one other thing we need to do on the 20th. It's part of business, but we need to approve an annual report, and I'll have that for everyone late this week or early next week.
Thank you.
Okay, and add to the list you've got here on the agenda, the task force for the oversight task force. For
Right. Right.
Okay.
And then does the commission have to do something to launch these recruiting things for both race? No, okay, fine. Okay.
No.
One of the things too, I want us to briefly discuss is we need to have a outgoing transition meeting, admin meeting with the commissioners. I don't know what dates you guys have available, but we have a lot to transition. Websites, passwords, bank accounts, committees.
Zoom account.
Yeah, we need to make sure all the notes, everything is where it's supposed to be. I know we're using the website for a large depository, but we also have OneDrive. So we have a lot of things we need to talk about on transition. So I need to know kind of when you guys would like to have that.
so Lisa, I talked to John about this, and I think that we should just write up like webmaster. I could put a document
You can
together
do that,
that's
Connie.
put on OneDrive.
I need to meet with you guys. We need to meet and talk as a commission to get everything transitioned. Notes, emails, and all that. It's just things get lost in translation. We can do a 1.5 hour Zoom meeting to make sure we have all of our bases covered.
When do you want to do it?
I can't write up everything that I need to know from you guys.
When do you want to do it?
Be a joint discussion.
When do you want to do it?
I'm ready. You tell me when I'm ready.
Okay.
Want to do it after Thanksgiving, maybe the first?
I can't do it this month, so we're gonna have to wait till like early December because I have too many other commitments. Like, there's just no time on my schedule for me to be able to add a hour and a half.
Thursday, the 1st?
First week of December.
Thursday, the 1st works for me. I would prefer during the day too, rather than at night, but that
Oh,
may.
definitely. If we
Well,
can.
Connie's shaking her head. That's not.
I'm gonna be in New York, but I can join in, I guess, but I have things I'm trying to get done, so.
Well, Connie, give us a
Yeah.
date that you are available and let us work around your date.
I could do it the afternoon of Wednesday, November 30th, before I leave for New York. And after all my relatives, like there's family coming for Thanksgiving.
I have a doctor's appointment that afternoon.
Okay,
in
so
Baltimore.
okay, so can we, oh God, it's no good. Just do it December 1st. I will check in
Is that good?
because it's good for most people. So let's just pick a day, pick a time on December 1st. And I will figure it out on my end.
2 in the morning.
Michael?
Peter, we're doing. Just.
Is this going to include the commissioners elect?
No.
Okay.
Michael, is December 1st okay with you? I know he's on the phone.
Let's do it earlier. Let's do it earlier in the day.
What time? What time?
You guys want to start at 10?
10.
Which day did you decide on?
December 1st.
Thursday,
December 1st.
December 1st. Then I can take
Thursday,
off.
December 1st. I am in New York helping my mother again. So I would think that 10 o'clock in the morning should be okay, because as we get later in the day, I'll have more tasks assigned to me.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
let's
in the
do
same
that.
position.
Okay, you're gonna send something around, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to be multitasking, but this is a big
It's okay.
family thing.
Okay,
No problem. Thank you, Michael.
thank you for being here.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Connie?
I think I have all the chats and the, but just, you gotta wait for me. You can stop the recording and let me just copy and paste the last one here before we completely end this thing. This was.
Should